What if you wanted to go in the outdoors, camp with your family, do all the rugged stuff, yet have 3 rows of seating and space to carry all your family, all the luggage? Welcome everybody to the 2024 Subaru Ascent. It's Subaru's take on a family mover in the very cluttered segment. Let's see how this 7-seater is. If you come to the looks of the Ascent, it has been updated for the MY 2024 year. So they have new headlights, a new grille design which is very prominent and very in your face. There's a big thick chrome strip on the grille as well with the big Subaru logo. It's definitely imposing and it definitely stands out on the road. This paint shade grey is again very subtle. It blends in with the traffic very well. You will definitely not be attracting any attention at all in this car, especially in this spec. You do have lots of cladding because this is an SUV, so you do have to have the cladding, and it's a Subaru, so you can take it in the rough stuff, so your bumper has to be protected. So all the cladding, the new headlight design is very sharp, very unique, I'd say. And then when you come to the side, you see that the cladding is very beautifully integrated from the bumper onto the arches and towards the side skirts, and then all the way to the rear bumper as well. And also when you come to the side is when you truly realize how big of a vehicle this is. This is a true 3-row SUV and it shows in the side profile. Also, it seems a bit boxy. From the front you can't tell as much, but when you get towards the rear from the side, you realize that this is a bit of a boxy vehicle, and it's a very tall vehicle, especially with the roof rails as well. The height is pretty tall, like I'm 5'8", and with the roof rails this is actually higher than me. The wheels are also very nice. They are on this limited variant. So there is one higher variant which is called the Premium, which is the top of the line. This is one below that, so this is the limited, and these are the wheels on it, and I think they look really good. It's a bit of a dual tone pattern on the wheel and they look really good. You can see that the side profile of the tire is also very thick, which also translates into a very good ride. Again, just subtle design elements here and there. Subaru hasn't gone too radical with it, and they don't have to, because sometimes simplicity is the best solution, and the Ascent is the perfect example of that. When you come to the rear of the Ascent, you'll realize that this is a bit more simple than the side and the front. It's got lots of flat elements, and you have this nice little tiger claw taillights, which is I think a very increasing trend in the automotive segment right now. You have lots of cars that have taillights based on this kind of outline. It looks pretty good. It has been updated for the MY24. You do have a thick chrome strip. You have the big Subaru logo. You do have some badging, so you have the Subaru, the symmetrical all-wheel drive, the Ascent, and you also have lots of cladding on the bumper, which is actually pretty unique because I've never seen a cutout like this in a bumper. This is for the tow hook, but I've never seen a big cutout as such. You also have a very big tailgate, and it opens up and you get an access to the boot. I have the 3rd row up right now, and as you can see, there is enough space to put in some cabin luggage, but that also means that the 3rd row isn't as spacious. So the most ideal setup is to perhaps keep the 3rd row folded when you don't need the 3rd row. That way you have a spacious 2nd row and you have a huge boot to put in very big luggages. I'm now inside the Ascent. As you can see, it's a very familiar place to be if you've been in other Subarus. You've got the traditional big screen which is now present in every other Subaru. It has wireless CarPlay. The touch is decent, not the most responsive, but it's decent, not a deal breaker. The graphics are very crisp, the colors are very nice. You do have physical buttons for the temperature, the volume, and the seek track and the tune option, which is nice. You do have a cubby space here to put some stuff. I usually put my phone, and it takes my phone very easily. It's not a wireless charger, however. Perhaps that is safe for the Premium, the top of the line variant, but it's a nice cubby space. It takes my phone. I have a big phone, the 13 Pro Max iPhone, so it takes it in very well. You do have a Type C and a Type A port as well. You have 2 cup holders. You do have an electronic parking brake switch. It's very functional, and that's how it's been with all Subarus. It's not the most glitzy, the most glamorous interior, but it's got everything you need. It's very functional. You have the same chunky 3-spoke steering wheel with the adaptive cruise, the heated steering button, and the volume track, seek track buttons on it. You do have paddle shifters, which is again very useless because this is a CVT. You do have the traditional gear lever, which is very nice to see because cars these days have like buttons and knobs and stalks. I've been driving all kinds of cars recently, so it's very nice to have a very conventional gear lever for a change. You do have a center armrest as well. You can put in lots of stuff, and you do have a small rack to put your coins and small knickknacks as well. Again, it's very thoughtfully planned, very thoughtfully designed. You've got the right amount of storage. You have a small storage here as well, and obviously you have the traditional glove box as well. You do have part leather stitching with the white, which is very nice. The seats themselves are also very comfortable. You have electrically controlled for the passenger and the driver. The driver also gets memory seats, which is very cool. The seats themselves adjust with the lumbar as well, and it's very nice. You do have manually extendable under thigh support, which is a very underrated feature, honestly, especially for taller drivers. It's one of the coolest features. You do have the traditional analog gauges as well, which is again very nice, because in this day and age analog gauges are just diminishing from the market. So to see one, it's actually very nice. You do have a center screen with the trip meter and everything, so it's a perfect blend of analog and digital. You do have a bit of a hump in the dash, but that's for the eyesight feature. So it's literally, like as it says, eyesight. It's actually looking and monitoring the driver's eyes at all times. So it can keep the adaptive cruise working, and it sees that the driver is alert. If you're looking elsewhere, or if you're wearing sunglasses, then it doesn't track your eyes as properly. So that's there for safety, which is cool. It does stand out a bit, can be a bit distracting, but once you drive this more and more, you get used to it. What can I say? It's very practical, it's very functional, just what every Subaru is. So they didn't have to tinker with it too much. It could have been a bit more luxurious, but perhaps the premier top of the line variant would naturally be the more posh, the most posh version of the Ascent. I'm now in the second row of the Ascent. As I said, the Ascent is a 3-row, so I'm in the second row. The third row is very tight. Like honestly, there's no point of shooting anything because I really can't fit in it. My legs won't actually fit while sitting. So all I can say, it's best left for kids or short adults, but again for very short journeys or someone you really hate. Otherwise, don't put anybody in the third row. Only reserved for kids. The second row is captain seats, which I really like, and you have these armrests which are very cool as well. And overall, it just feels very, very nice. The stitching is very cool. The seats are very comfortable. They're adjustable, so you can actually move the seat front and back, and you can actually control the backrest with height as well, which is very cool. You do have sunshades as well, which is a very, very underrated feature, especially with summers around the corner. This is a very cool feature. You do have heated seats for the both seats. You have a digital screen to control the temperature and the fan speed. You do have a type C and a type A port. You do have some storage and cup holders here, and you do have cup holders on the door as well, and you can also keep a cup on inside the door pockets as well. So it's very practical. As I said, Subaru knows how to make a very practical, well thought, well functional interior, and this is no different. You do have seat back pockets as well, so you have lots of stuff to keep your knickknacks here and there. It's very practical. You do have a panoramic sunroof, so although the interior seats is a dark shade, but the roof liner is a light shade, so with the sun coming in, it lights up the roof liner, so it lends in a very bright ambience, which is very nice and just what the second row passengers would want. Also, the second row seats are a bit higher than the first row, so you do have a clearer view of the road, which is again just these little things here and there make the experience for the second row much better. Honestly, if I put the armrest down, I can just sit here for a very long time, and I don't mind being driven around in this car because it's actually very comfortable in the second row as well. Now behind the wheel of the 2024 Subaru Ascent, so let's get the numbers out of the way. This has the famed 2.4 liter Boxer turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, produces about 260-ish horsepower, has the symmetrical all-wheel drive, has the famous CVT gearbox. Let's see how this crossover slash SUV drives. So slot the gear lever to drive. I already have it to drive, and we set off. And you instantly notice that this vehicle just wants to lunge ahead. Honestly, in city bumper to bumper traffic, it's actually very easy to drive. You hardly have to press the throttle at all. Honestly, it's so easy. It's so convenient. You never have to floor it. I mean, there is a small percentage measurement scale of how much accelerator input you're putting at any time. And trust me, with this vehicle, you don't have to. Like, I'm putting 30% throttle and I'm off. That's how easy it is. The turbo lag is there, but the CVT masks it really, really well, and you don't feel it at all, especially in bumper to bumper traffic driving, city traffic. You don't feel it at all. It just feels so easy to drive. Otherwise, it drives really well. It's one of the better driving crossovers. Currently, my favorite is it's one of its rivals, the CX-90, but this is not far behind. The driving position is very high, so you're sitting very high. You have a very clear view of the road. You have a very clear view of the bonnet. I'm on a very bad patch of road, but honestly, you don't feel anything because the combination of the suspension and the seats, you don't feel anything. The suspension is one of the best in the segment, if not the best. It's one of the best. Subaru knows. I mean, experiencing the Outback recently, I've had high expectations and I'm not let down with this Ascent. It just is so comfortable. The ride is so good. It's honestly a great road trip car, just to haul all your luggage and family. It's just meant to eat the miles. The steering is very good. It just drives so well. There is obviously body roll because it is a bit of a tall vehicle, so center of gravity is high, so there is some body roll, but it's very much manageable and you can have some fun in this vehicle around the twisties. Even though I know crossovers and SUVs are not meant to do that, but you can still have some fun with this vehicle. Like, I'm going over some bad bumps, I don't feel anything. And you know, it's very short-footed because of the symmetrical all-wheel drive. It's very short-footed, so you know that it's going to have the grip, it's going to have the mechanical grip which you need when you are either in very tricky snow conditions or just anywhere. You know this car will perform really well, and that's the whole trend with the Subarus. You know they're reliable, you know they're going to be your trustworthy friend when you need them the most. What can I say? I've been driving the Subaru and I had some expectations and this car has met them all. It's a very no-nonsense A to B car that can carry your family, that drives half as decent as well. The fuel economy could have been better, but not really a deal breaker because that's how it is in the whole segment with other cars as well. It's all in the same ballpark. In the city, I've been getting 13.5 liters per 100, and on the highway, I've been getting 10.5 to 11 liters per 100, which is on the higher side, but it's a segment norm, so it's not a deal breaker. Honestly, I get this vehicle. I understand that you don't need the fancy gizmos, or you don't need the super blingy appeal. You just need a car that goes from A to B, drives really well, is secure, safe and solid. The Subaru Ascent ticks all those boxes. In conclusion then, the 2024 Subaru Ascent. Well, I've spent a week with it and I understand why this car is so good. It doesn't have all the glam, because if you want the glam, the glitz, all the fancy stuff, there are lots more different cars in the segment. Honestly, this segment is so cluttered, yet the Ascent manages to stand out because it sticks true to its core fundamentals as a vehicle. It drives really well, it's supremely comfortable, it's got all the basic tech and gadgets you would need in a vehicle. It's got 3 rows of seats. It's got a decent boot. As I said, it's very comfortable. Mechanically, it's very sorted, and that's where the Ascent really stands out. Because if you want a no frills experience, but something that just works and drives really well, then the Subaru Ascent should be one of your top contenders if you're trying to buy a 3-row SUV in today's market. At $54,000 for this limited variant, it's actually value for money as well, because every other 3-row SUV is at least $5,000 to $7,000 more, which is a significant amount of money. So you're having a car that drives well, is robust, is solid, yet is one of the cheaper ones in the segment. A win-win if you're in the market to buy a big 3-row SUV.